There's a vast amount of oddities that inhabit the internet, some that have yet to even be unveiled. This is the second and final part of my weird side of the internet iceberg. We're going to be diving into the more obscure side compared to part 1, which was essentially just a trip down memory lane. If you haven't seen part 1, you should check it out to fully experience the journey of nostalgia and surreality. I'll link it in the description, but for now, let's just get right into it. Illusion of Bias follows the haunting story of a girl who suffers from the inability to perceive her own face. It asks the viewer if they're the kind of person who wants to discover new sensations due to the boring gray reality that is life, adding, "You probably think you're unique and a good-natured person." The text quickly changes the subject, asking if you remember the last time you felt nauseous, going on to describe the saliva accumulation you feel before throwing up, which is very illustrative and sets the uneasy tone for sure. This is the story of a girl who had to experience the uncomfortable horror of vomiting every night. The inability to perceive her face was due to a brain tumor surgery she had when she was 10, which was successful with the exception for the facial blindness complication. She fell into a depression, endlessly wishing she could see her own face again, but whenever she'd look in the mirror, she'd be met with a faceless human. She wakes up from a dream, immediately being met with a sense of disturbance. Feeling nauseous, she gets up to go to the bathroom. When she looks in the mirror, she doesn't see the faceless being she's used to, and the sight causes her to throw up. She wished she never saw her face again, but thankfully she actually didn't, as it was a false awakening dream all along. But since then, each night, she woke up in a puddle of her own vomit. The text then reads, "Do you appreciate what you already have?" There's an array of the Family International media, but I decided to lump them together. The Family International is an active cult founded in 1968. They've undergone several name changes. You might know them as the Children of God. Over the years, they've created children's series and even music videos. One of their shows, Treasure Attic, was brought to people's attention when a Tumblr user used a clip from the show with the text, "When you have so many things you want to draw that it becomes overwhelming, so you just do nothing." Someone replied, saying a friend of theirs recognized this sheep gif and spent an entire weekend hunting down the source. They were successful in finding the show, then realized it was made by the cult. The shows made by TFI are all filled with unsettling remarks, like in Life with Grandpa, when a child injures herself, her mom says how she'll just have to lick it clean since she didn't bring any tissues. Then she asks for the Lord's forgiveness for not bringing any tissues, saying, "Anyone working with children should always carry cologne and tissues." If you know the disgusting history of the cult, then I'm sure you understand the odd implication. Then in 1994, they released the infamous song SOS. The goal of this music video was to market it to Japanese people in an attempt to indoctrinate more people from Japan into the cult. The world of TFI is disturbingly bizarre, and one day I'll probably make a more in-depth video dedicated to it. Poochie and Pansy is a web series that debuted in 2009. It's about two puppies who are trying to rescue a cat from an evil witch, and at first glance you'd think it was an adorable cartoon. However, it soon takes countless eerie and jarring turns. For example, the audio is incredibly hard to hear throughout the first episode, but at the end of it, you severely regret turning your volume all the way up as you're jump scared by a PNG of some skeleton dude. Each following episode descends into glitches, unexplainable cuts to real-life locations, and general chaos that borders comical, all while Poochie and Pansy try to save the kitten. It becomes more incomprehensible over time and is honestly pretty entertaining to watch, but be prepared for the loud interruptions. It was created to garner attention to an ARG called The Hunt for the Gangadiddle. Frog Fractions is a top-tier Flash game that is one hell of a journey. It starts off with a frog named Hop who has to use his tongue to attack bugs and collect fruit. With your fruit, you can unlock certain power-ups, one being Warp Drive that requires 25,000. This might leave you confused due to the fact you only collect a few fruit each round, until you realize you can go under the water to obtain like a billion fruit to unlock the warp drive, allowing you to take a trip to Bug Mars. All goes awry though when you are arrested after battling an alien robot squid. You're put on trial at Bug Court with accusations of breaking and entering with intent to purloin space fruit. However, at the end of the trial, you are issued a work visa, being allowed to stay. While exploring the underwater depths of Bug Mars, a narration of a fictional history of boxing plays. At some point, you become president, and after upgrading to the presidential swimming pool, if you try to go underwater, it cuts to the credits as a song that sounds like a suspiciously similar mix of Sober by Tool and Wake Up by Rage Against the Machine plays. Keeping consistent with the topic of games, White Enamel is a horror point-and-click adventure game where you traverse an abandoned haunted mental asylum. But it's admittedly sort of like an interactive movie more than a literal game, and there are 7 parts. It takes you through the entirety of the hospital while various discomfited videos and audios play, telling the story of the asylum. It also appears to tie into the Blair Witch Project, but I've honestly never seen any of the movies, but allegedly the character Kyle in White Enamel is the same Kyle in the Blair Witch series. It's a pretty interesting tale overall. My Sister was a YouTube video uploaded by the channel Raider Dog that left viewers perplexed when it started to gain traction. A woman with a face that can only be described as uncanny valley is wearing a long white dress and standing in a hallway. She inches towards the camera while smiling. After doing this repeatedly while showcasing different outfits and even a faux pregnant stomach, we learn it is a mask as she takes the face off, and an even more unsettling mask is revealed. She begins eating a slice of cake and later a banana while making eye contact, and the video ends with her stretching the skin of the mask out. The description said nothing but, "She's so silly," and the contents of the video at first came across as completely unexplainable. But after looking into it, was revealed to be a video taken from another channel, the original being titled Unmasking and Eating. We can quickly realize that this is a woman who makes hyper-realistic masks, and the intention of the video was simply to demonstrate the durability of her masks. The Raider Dog upload has been deleted, but the original creator still makes mask content to this day. In part 1, I discussed David Firth's video dating tape, but there is a second video dating tape completely unrelated to the Firth animation. Completed with a VHS effect, the video begins with the text, "Looking for love?" Then we are shown a man who says his name is Tony. He refers to himself as an entrepreneur, businessman, and part-time adventurer. He repeats this Tony businessman spiel, but this time adds that he lives a life of luxury and wants someone to share the luxury with. It abruptly cuts to footage of somebody's window, then back to Tony. As he is speaking about what kind of person he is looking for, sounds of a woman crying can be heard, and we quickly see his demeanor turn menacing. He screams to shut up, and a clip from a degraded quality Toys R Us commercial plays. He repeats Tony businessman spiel for the 3rd time, but becomes irritated with himself and hits his head with his fists, then goes back to, "Hi, I'm Tony." To make matters somehow worse, he says he wants someone to share walks in the forest and to spend the rest of their life with them. He ends his dating tape by requesting women who think they could be his special someone to send a photo of them with their age, name, and location to the address provided. Thankfully, this was not a serial killer, just a project featuring actor Darren Stoneham as Tony. I Am God was an ARG adjacent thread that was birthed on 4chan. A user turned to the X board claiming their friend was experiencing enigmatic incidents, even resorting to sending his computer into the shop because he thought he might have downloaded a virus. But the incidents transcended only affecting his computer, when his TV started to act odd as well, turning off or on when he'd leave a room. He had found image and text files downloaded to his computer that he had no recollection of downloading himself, which is what caused him to question the possibility of a virus. But OP wondered if it could ever be possible for a paranormal entity to mess with the computer, or even if a computer could be the source of a paranormal entity. OP provided the other users in the thread everything that had been mysteriously downloaded to their friend's computer, and after investigating, were able to piece together this image of a face, and a binary code that translated to "I am God." It then proceeded to descend into a very chaotic thread and has pretty much gone down in infamous 4chan history. And we're back to David Firth. Alan is an animated short about a man who possesses a strange superpower. He's able to telepathically sense when someone is about to be shot. He has a sort of echolocation that tells him exactly where the potential victim will be. When he receives a tingle in his brain that someone is about to be killed, he hurries to the location and hopes he will save a life. He's always on the move trying to save people and even has a flying machine to reach destinations quicker. But while on the hunt to save a child, his flying machine breaks down, and he is forced to roll the rest of the way. Sadly, Alan wasn't quick enough this time and is shown being regretful and defeated. The text reads how it'd be helpful if the tingling sensation gave him an extra 30 seconds so he would be able to save more lives. But that until then, he shall keep trying. Awake was a YouTube channel that started posting what can be described as a mix of existential and indecipherable content in 2015. Their first video was uploaded on November 21st with the title Awake and contained no description. The text in this 18-second clip reads, "Who are you? Are you a contributing member of your society? We are all the same. You are nothing." The titles would usually either be a single word or what appeared to be jumbles of letters and numbers. A lot of the videos contained these unnerving white faces, and their most popular was Control, where a grating audio plays as we see an indistinct figure. This face appears along with a string of numbers and letters in what I think is indiscernible Russian. The channel was a part of the Cave of Shadows ARG that pretty much fell through, and Awake was unfortunately hacked, then deleted. But the person behind the ARG re-uploaded everything they still had for preservation purposes on Awake series. I want to preface by saying Exploshi has made a myriad of wonderfully weird and hilarious content that could all be included in this iceberg. Her videos are great, but because I obviously cannot include literally every peculiar thing on the internet, I picked Kirby Safety VHS because it's one of my favorites. A voiceover narrates that this is a special safety presentation to help you protect yourself and your loved ones, and as we can see is brought to us by King DDD and Kirby. DDD says he and Kirby are here to demonstrate how to be a safety. He asks, "Isn't that right, Kirby?" but is not pleased with Kirby's response, resulting in him getting splattered by a Gordo. A gun pops up and it is now quiz time. Prompted with the question, "What do you do if you find a gun on the floor?" Escargoon begins reading off the possible answers. Kirby slyly reaches for the gun, but DDD does not let this slide. After the technical problems are resolved, Waddle-Doo is a criminal trying to rob them. Kirby speaks once again, much to DDD's dismay, but this time Kirby doesn't tolerate the treatment. He enlarges and says, "Safety is an illusion. Oblivion catches up with us all." Paranoia.com may just be the reason you're watching this channel, or not, I don't know, but it was a late 90s website that allowed users to create their own pages within the site for a small fee. So naturally, the topics vary drastically, ranging from an innocent Pez collection to satirical Unabomber merch to the Church of Young and Asia's endorsement for cannibalism, and to subject matters much more sinister. It was hosted by a man who went by the name of Kevin Texas, and it probably goes without saying he was a huge freedom of speech advocate. The site closed in 1998 due to their bandwidth being reduced. In 2003, Disney infamously purchased the domain, and it has redirected to their website ever since. Well, technically the registrant is ABC, but Disney owns ABC and for whatever reason decided to redirect Paranoia to their site. But a while back, I'm pretty sure I found out why they did. It's honestly rather anticlimactic, but if you guys want an update video on Paranoia.com, let me know. This marks the end of the deep waters. Next up is bottom of the iceberg. Happy Appy is a Candle Cove-esque creepypasta surrounding a deranged killer apple on a stick. In 1999, shortly after Noggin was launched on Nickelodeon, the show debuted. But after only a month, Happy Appy was pulled off the air and was now considered lost media, with the exception of a few recorded copies on VHS and ultra-rare DVD copies. Someone had found episodes 1 through 10, and while it started off like a regular kids show, it soon took a disturbing turn. The first oddity was that a country version of Hot and Cold by Katy Perry played in Happy Appy's van, despite it being released in 2008. But discontinuous Katy Perry was not the most threatening thing about the world of Mr. Appy. He starts death staring at the camera in silence for extended periods before speaking, and eventually becomes a murderer. Then an episode surrounds the tragedy of 9/11, implying there was some sort of ill-omened time travel thing going on, because in the Happy Appy universe, a country version of Hot and Cold and 9/11 references existed in 1999. It descends into more chaos with way too many entries to go over. The Creepypasta Files wiki on its Happy Appy article has an author's note that states it was engineered to be the worst creepypasta ever made. Although some people doubt the author's claim that it was intentionally bad, especially considering there are over 50 blog entries. It would have had to be one hell of a dedicated author, but it isn't far-fetched to believe it was meant to be satirical, especially considering Shaq becomes involved in one of the two versions. Barney Dies is a 2009 video that I scoured YouTube for because my friend had seen it when she was a child and wanted to feast her eyes upon it again. This was years ago when I found it, but I wanted to share my personal lore. In the 90s and 2000s, following the popularity of the character, killing Barney was a very common joke amongst older children and teenagers. It begins with the I Love You song as a person in a Barney costume poses at the camera and starts to skip around. Suddenly, two boys run towards him, and the music instantly changes to Die MF Die by Dope. They tackle him to the ground, beating him with a stick and punching him, and this goes on for like a minute until the text reads, "Trust me, Barney is dead." Not. And this time around, Barney gets revenge on the boys. He manhandles them, but the guys escape, and it ends with Barney flexing his muscles. The Tale of Bruno Powroznik could probably have its own dedicated video, but I will try my best to summarize. Bruno is a former internet personality that ran a few different channels, however all were eventually terminated. Re-uploads still exist, and his internet presence is pretty well documented. He started posting to YouTube in the early 2000s and left the internet for a seemingly permanent hiatus in 2013. I'll play a few clips of the videos he made so you can get a feel for the type of content he made.
I am insane. I am sick in the head. Death cannot come soon enough. I am looking forward to death. No more worrying about paying the gas bill. I really hate Simon Cowell.
Admittedly, it is difficult, at least for me, to distinguish between this actually being a man who was struggling mentally, or if it was some sort of outlandish humor. He was arrested after a video he made that was perceived as a threat to shoot up a pub, but was released shortly thereafter when it was determined to be a joke. And rest assured, he is confirmed to still be alive, but has stayed off the grid. A fun fact about Bruno is, legend has it, he worked for the Teletubbies and witnessed the sleeping head incident with his own eyes. There are multiple uploads of strangest, possibly creepiest clip ever, but we're going to be focusing on this one posted in August of 2008. It's this GIF on a loop for 1 minute and 54 seconds while Honeybee's High from Banjo-Tooie plays. Nothing else happens in the entirety of the video. If you saw this as a child or just in the earlier days of the internet, it can definitely be seen as off-putting, especially if you didn't know where the clip originated from. But it's actually just Syriac's face. He's an amazingly talented surreal animator who is behind a lot of bizarre internet videos. This one he posted to his website with the title Me and My Big Mouth, and for a split second during his Messing with My Head YouTube video, you can see him using the same effect. I've frequently seen this thing pop up on tip of my tongue. It seems to be one of those vague, creepy memories of the 2000s internet. Strawberry Shortcut is from the same director as Pickle Surprise, but is its way less known companion. The video reads, at a ladies' luncheon, and one of them asks, "What's for dessert?" Lady Bunny exclaims, "Dessert?" and we learn she had forgotten all about bringing anything. Two pink beings miraculously pop up, saying if you need a quick dessert, take the Strawberry Shortcut. They then began to construct the strawberry treat while instructing us how to do so. You take a donut and place it in a serving dish, marinate with cherry 7-Up and a glop of jam, then top with fresh strawberries and whipped cream. She presents it to her friend, and when they say, "That was quick," she turns to the camera with a suggestive look saying, "I took the shortcut, the strawberry shortcut." And it ends with the pink people behind their creation. In the credits, it states the video was dedicated to the hope for a cure to AIDS, and only a few years later, the director, Tom Rupnitz, devastatingly passed away due to the disease. Tom had created more work and PSAs for the 80s AIDS epidemic, and it's nice to keep his art living on. Side note, I thought the blue guy in Pickle Surprise was Tom this entire time, but it isn't him. My embarrassing mistake, because I've said that in multiple videos, but he is only the director, and the Pickle Surprise guy is actually one of the pink people in Strawberry Shortcut who went by the name of Sister Dimension. Sister Dimension is featured throughout Tom's other work and was a significant part of the 80s drag scene, along with all of the other drag queens that were actors in these videos. Max and Ruby 0004 is a creepypasta turned animation about the beloved children's show. The story can be summarized as someone found a suspicious Max and Ruby DVD with 4 episodes, but after turning on the DVD, it appeared completely normal. So they gave the disc to their little cousin. That was until the 4th episode when they heard their cousin scream from the other room. It was a staticky Max and Ruby with gaping black holes for eyes, and a backwards version of the theme song was playing in the background. Not after long, there was a piercing scream. After going back to the episode selection menu, the 4th had changed to RIP Mommy and Daddy. Selecting leads to a relatively normal-looking episode, just with a grainy quality. But then it goes dark, and we hear a voiceover say,
"It's a shame."
Now, Max and Ruby are faceless and the screen is entirely red. The face voids and screaming come back as it zooms in. It cuts to Max and Ruby mutilating themselves in various ways, and we hear a voice say,
"Burn in hell!"
There's additional screaming and gaping eye holes, and it ends with Max and Ruby waving, while the text above them reads, "Death is our only release." PHR 2/771 educational video was uploaded in 2014 by Aspicio Omnium, which translates to "I see everything." This very catchy beat is playing, and it's in sync with everything throughout the video. It begins with teaching us Lesson 1, Room Orientation. We're shown Room 1 and are told it's where the narrator lives because they are the smartest. 2 people live in Room 2, and they own a furry animal that doesn't breathe. Nobody wants to occupy number 3 because the walls are covered in skin. It's Andy's skin, who won't allow pictures to be taken of it, but they disobeyed Andy's wish and photographed the skin anyway. The soft room only has one rule: no one else can come in until you leave. But Jim went in there 2 weeks ago, and they're realizing he's probably dead. We're then shown an array of objects that may cause death by looking at them. And this one is also smelly. We're told to avoid books that contain more than one word and to not look up. Lastly, we have the sewer slide room that no one ever goes in because it's under construction and will never be finished due to what happened. Everything is leaking. I love the bizarre, almost humorous tone that is conveyed simply through the text and the tune that's in sync with it. The creator of Happy Meat Farms even left a comment about how this video and channel inspired the ARG and his work in general. Very influential and is really similar to a lot of the modern day internet horror videos that we see today. Ballface is literally the OG Backrooms entity. It follows an ominous grinning ball that is floating around in an empty office, sometimes peeking, other times fully revealing itself, and is seemingly everywhere in this building as we're shown the different locations he resides in. At the end, he finally comes for you and probably eats your soul or something. There's honestly not a whole lot of commentary you can make on it. It's a minute-long video with basically no backstory, but I wanted to include because of how much I love it and the fact this looks like it was made today, when in reality it was 13 years ago in 2010. So I'd consider it pretty ahead of its time. Bunny Operation was uploaded to YouTube in 2011 and is footage of the old Flash game Save the Bunny. The premise is you gotta perform emergency surgery on a rabbit named Fred before he croaks, and you're given a mere 58 seconds to do so. It starts with Fred flatlining, and you have to defibrillate him to get him breathing again. After shaving his belly, we see he has a mom heart tattoo on his chest. After making an incision with a scalpel, you have to move his intestines out of the way to remove a cursor hand for some reason. You're instructed to replace it with a pill, and if you do so before the time runs out, he survives and ascends up to an ethereal cloudy sky. If you don't complete the surgery in time, he turns into an angel with the text, "Too bad, he's dead." It's pretty morbid for a children's game and was very high stress for kid Kylie with remarks like, "Hurry up, Fred is dying." This was one of the weird Elsagate kids games before Elsagate. Embryo is an animation created by Nana825763, who is also the artist behind Username 666. Two hands open a dark curtain to reveal baby dolls surrounded by a floral background. Every time the hands open and close the curtains, the scene changes. It goes from the colorful floral scheme to a gloomy, nearly colorless array of doll heads bordering a red baby, and back to the flowers. We then see a different floral design and the babies begin spinning their lumpy heads around in an uncanny movement. It's about 50 seconds full of entrancing visuals. I actually think it's really pretty from a surreal perspective, and I particularly enjoy the abstract elements it has. Like, you can just sit back and be mesmerized by it in a way. He's a seriously talented artist, and all of his animations are very well done pieces of art. Mike Taff VFX is a massively underrated animator that started posting surreal content to YouTube in 2006, and would continue to occasionally upload until 2014 when he went dark and has since never returned. His most popular video is Quality Meats, which depicts a nightmare-like grocery store filled with meaty creatures trudging around. In the description, he says that the characters are based on creatures from Silent Hill, and I'm sure you can see the inspiration, and Silent Hill seems to be an influence throughout his other work. In a demo reel posted in 2006, there is this marvelous scene of these beings and a life cereal. And here is a clip of an animation of his called The Traveler Has Come. There are some comments on his videos asking where he went, but I couldn't find one he's responded to, and I was unable to find any mention of him having a current online presence. It'd be wonderful to see how his talent and creativity would have progressed and what it looked like now, especially considering there's tons of similar content prevalent now, but maybe he just gave up animating or prefers to be off the grid. It really reminds me of your local breadman, and I love seeing any creative person put their bizarre visions to life out into the world. In April of 2009, a video titled One Potato, Two Potato, Great Lost Austrian Punk Video 1980/81 Snuff was uploaded to YouTube. The description claimed the VHS had sold on eBay for $899, although I couldn't find any proof to back that up. It also adds, some people told us that all the actors really died during the shooting of this video. Could it be? Don't know, but this is the first time it's available anywhere, so have a look for yourself. And who is/was that masked stranger? It appears to be a quirky, low-budget music video for a punk song about potatoes, featuring said masked person as the singer. But then it goes from quirky to more threatening. Towards the end, the singer becomes mummified and eventually kills everyone, then plays the childhood favorite game Hangman. However, this was not only not a snuff film at all, but it wasn't even from the 80s. It was nothing more than a music video by artist Albert Dirt in 2008. How or why the fabricated backstory came about, I am unsure of. Practicing Pat is a cartoon about a kid and his special friend. The child narrates saying Practicing Pat hides inside a broken TV in the backyard. When no one is around, Practicing Pat comes out of the TV to tap on his window. They then go for walks along the seafront to vacuum up the sand and clean the coast. Pat needs to practice his vacuuming skills in order to return to his real home, as he got kicked out for not being very good at it. But the boy believes Pat is improving upon his technique. Once morning arrives, he goes back to his TV and waits. The child spends all day thinking about him until night comes again. Practicing Pat tells him that he can never let his dad throw the TV away, otherwise Pat will throw him in the sea. He has nightmares of Pat drowning him. One night when his father came home angry, he started a fire in the backyard and threw the TV in. The boy could hear Pat's screams as the fire burned. The next morning, the TV was all black. Practicing Pat doesn't talk to him anymore and thinks he isn't very happy with the situation. PetiteTube is a website that was launched in 2011 and used to be pretty prevalent within the internet mystery community. Its entire function is for you to be able to find the most obscure YouTube videos on the site. Every time you refresh the page, a video with minuscule views pops up. The vast majority of the time, it's harmless, uneventful content, but you can find odd stuff if you try hard enough. This is me refreshing until I found something even worth mentioning, but the most interesting things I found were a geometry dash level, this bird, and a dog learning tricks. I don't hear much about it anymore, but there was a period of time when people would try to find unsettling videos by refreshing the page until something questionable showed up. Banana Banana Rap is a video that I watched when I was younger because my little cousin was obsessed with it when he was a baby. It was posted in 2009 and you can certainly tell. I don't know what the deal was with banana humor in the 2000s. It starts with the beautiful animatephotos.com watermark and then we're met with this banana's very well choreographed moves. The lyrics consist of everybody needing a banana when they're having milk in their cereal, and Monkey needing a banana to eat with his milk and cereal. He works all day on his computer, now all he can say is banana. This bad boy was featured for like a second in my first video on this channel, so I'm gonna be honest, I'm only putting it in here for nostalgia purposes and to give it some recognition. Let's move on to the Abyss. (2003-0308) is a deeply unsettling video that has since been removed from YouTube. It begins with a guy introducing himself as Thomas and says he's on campus at Illinois Tech. It cuts to him wrestling with a girl named Crystal. Seems playful, right? Well, Thomas quickly adds that this was recorded within an hour of meeting her and that he had to get rough with her because she wasn't putting out yet. The next scene is something I can't show on YouTube, but he licks blood off of her arm and says how her roommate reported them to the housing office after seeing this. Then he goes on about how Crystal claims she is attracted to him, but that all she'll let him do is play with her hair, so he thinks she has a different definition of attraction. He says she derives nothing but boredom and discomfort from making out with him, but that it didn't stop her from sleeping with him on film for $250, and states the video will be a, quote, priceless artifact for him when he's older. We see him asking her if she felt it was worth it or at any time enjoyed herself, but she responds with, not really. He quickly changes the subject by showing us a building he climbed to the roof of, saying he's going to pretend it was more than just something to do to forget he doesn't have a life. It ends with him groping Crystal. Now, I figured this was not real at all when I watched it years ago and some sort of art project, but after finding a thread about it on r/deep into YouTube, I found the channel name and realized he still has a few videos up. I also found these two websites of his and a Reddit account where he's made some extremely off-putting comments. This is another thing that just has far too much to it to cover in an Iceberg and could use its own video. But also, I don't know if it's like slimy to make a video about a real person because that isn't what I usually do and I feel like it is a sensitive case. After discussing what is probably the darkest thing in this iceberg, I wanted to talk about the obscure Charlie the Unicorn dating simulator. When I was around 11, I was very into the Charlie the Unicorn series, and to my pleasant surprise, came across this flash game that I have never seen talked about anywhere. You're given the option of courting one of 6 characters featured in the animated series, with the end goal being developing a love so profound that it will hold the power to open the enchanted love door. You go on dates with whichever characters you choose to, having conversations to strengthen your relationship and give gifts in addition to speed up the process. You can even take a loan out at the bank to buy more extravagant items, but you cannot escape the dreadful debt that comes along with it. Phantom and ROM bad.mov can at first come across as an either unexplainable video or some sort of ARG attempt, but neither are the case. It consists of this dreary bathroom setting where words keep appearing on walls, windows, and other objects. The shower doors begin opening and shutting on their own, lights turning on and off. Phantom in ROM repeatedly shows up along with a string of numbers that we can later see is most likely a date. With how empty the setting looks and the lack of a straightforward answer as to what the point is, it could come off as a little unsettling, but this was simply a college art project as part of a study about modifying an existing space and what must be modified in order to achieve an effect. Hail Zayon is a channel that was created in 2015 and currently sits at 910 videos. The majority have a couple hundred views at most and are of them filming very mundane things like pumpkin mini muffins or manhandling Starbucks food. But what's a bit more compelling is at some point they had created a website that read nothing more than Hail Zayon, Serve Zayon, and tons of their videos consist of the same titles. 2 videos that piqued my interest did not fade into an extreme obscurity as their view counts sit at 5,000 and 22,000. Who is Zayon is an elaborate backstory of this Zayon entity and reads stuff like, he likes patterns, the noise ones, they keep happening, but descends to, as his final deed, Zayon cursed us all to be reborn endlessly into the mind husk. Forever will we live out our torturous existence. No, stop, is of someone cutting up a page from what looks to be a children's book. Then it cuts to the website's URL. This no stop video actually does not belong to the channel, but was taken from another channel that Rainbot found via the aforementioned PetiteTube. The original is deleted, and I'm not sure if we ever got an answer as to what it was about. But I think it's safe to say the owner of Hail Zayon was probably just some kid that was into internet mysteries like the rest of us and wanted to post some content of their own. Fravia's Search Lures is a website that debuted in 2000. The homepage welcomes you saying it's fished you out of the web on purpose and for your own good. You happen to have approached a site of knowledge fashioned in the manner of the web of old. It says the words you use to find the site are somewhere in the huge catching list, which is a compilation of just about every single word in the English language for SEO purposes. Let's hope you will, one beautiful day, be a fisher instead of a fish and contribute yourself to our vast wealth of knowledge. It then prompts you to choose your destination wisely between entrance, basic, advanced, classrooms and scrolls, and adventuring further alone. If you choose advanced, it literally teaches you the essence of trolling. It definitely gives whimsical ARG vibes, but was actually used as an educational tool in reverse engineering classes and as a general guide to the internet. It's incredibly interesting to look through even today. Fravia sadly passed away in 2009, and he was really significant to the development and teaching of software reverse engineering. I hope he rests in peace. DeepBlueDream.HunterLounge.com is a website full of surreal imagery, none of which cohesively makes sense, but it's still interesting to look at. Whales seem to be a theme. There's a PNG of a brain rotating and a computer on an otherwise empty stage. There are multiple things having to do with chess, one being this photograph and another being this GIF. Lastly, there is this photo of a woman playing chess on a computer with her face blurring into the screen. It definitely gives weirdcore energy. There's not much more to say about the site, but I thought it was cool. Surreal for Human is a 28-second long 2006 YouTube masterpiece. We see the Surreal for Human box along with a nice clean bowl and spoon. The robotic voiceover narrates the new method of receiving the nutrient of the grain of morning and demonstrates the pouring of milk. The cereal begins breathing and the voiceover states, "Do not reject cereal," and it tells us, as for the grain, you can eat it with a spoon. Eating the grain brings health and the work efficiency, which increased systematically. The camera zooms out as it says, "Cereal, remember that favorably. Purchase cereal." Center Core Nevermore is another incredibly underappreciated surreal animation. I've actually used it as a B-roll in a video or two of mine. Made in the early 90s on Amiga 500, it starts with a woman riding a train at night. She holds a book, Tales of Terrors Illustrated, and a rat crawls over it. She exits the train and gets distracted by advertisements displaying electronics like this that floats around your room while never needing batteries, Galaxy in a jar that you can watch grow, and radiation fun. She tries to enter a restaurant, but is approached by this creature that sings a song with the lyrics, "Forgive the intrusion, my lady. I did not intend to offend your eye, for I am a vile, gruesome creature, and I've crawled in here to die." It then enters space and becomes a kaleidoscopic eye. When it cuts back to the restaurant, the woman has either vanished, mystically died, or any other way you can interpret it, because I can never tell if this pink blob is meant to represent her or not. Regardless, I absolutely love the atmosphere, and it's a greatly creative animation. What I'm Thinking About 1995 is a looped 15-minute video of this guy in an elf costume jumping into a wood chipper. That's it, that's the entire video. Posted by Dave Arnold, he says it's supposed to loop forever, but he could only upload 15 minutes. And adds, yes, the elf costume is real and he still has it. The shoes are green suede. The original upload of Look at Her Face Scary doesn't exist on YouTube anymore, so I'm honestly unsure as to how well known it was. The one that's up now only has about 5,000 views, but most of the comments are reminiscing of seeing this back in the 2000s and being terrified of it as children. It's of a young girl who is sitting down in a classroom with a chalkboard behind her. Seems completely ordinary until a few seconds pass and her face begins to distort. It switches between looking normal and turning disfigured. We can obviously tell now this was nothing more than an older camera glitch, but if you saw this in some scary video compilation over a decade ago, you can understand how it could be seen as unnerving. Hybrid RPG is a nonsensical, chaotic, and frankly delusional quote RPG. I say quote because it is more of an exceedingly long ramble on topics like mathematical equations, politics, pop culture references, and has a tendency to be both racist and misogynistic to a concerning degree, but specifies there is no intention to offend any race or gender. It consists of over 500 rules. Note, they are all non-sequential to make matters even more confusing. Trying to make sense of it is near impossible. I'm sure the person behind it was unwell and mentally struggling at the time, but that doesn't make it any less prejudiced and weird, and overall an incredibly bizarre piece of early internet history. Bringing more attention to the creative works of Tom Rubnitz, we have The Mother Show. This could easily be considered the original Shay St. John. Following a living doll named Frida, she recounts her childhood memories of the relationship she had with her mother. It takes you through the progression of types of questions girls ask their mothers while growing up and how important her mother's guidance was to her. Starting with inquiries like, can I have a cookie? Then changing into questions like, can I have $20 to go to the mall? Or asking what a boner is. And ends with stuff like Frida asking where an end table would look best at in her new house, or the fabric she'll use for her bridesmaids' gowns. It's honestly a very endearing short. Waluigi's Toenail Clipping Party is a lost Flash game from 2000. It was used to advertise Waluigi's introduction to Mario Tennis 64. Since it's currently unplayable and the only proof of its existence are a few recounts of people's memories of playing it, and archived photos from the Mario Tennis website, the specifics of the game are unknown, but we know the premise was giving Waluigi a pedicure of sorts. An old Nintendo Power article read, "It seems that everyone's favorite mustachioed mischief maker has let his personal grooming go, and it's up to you to help him. Clip those nails good, and be sure to aim for the jar, or you'll be left with ragged clippings and toe jam all over your hard drive. I will keep inserting Waluigi into my content, no matter how sly. I'm talking to you, Crushed Beast 29. Moving on to You've Essentially Found Atlantis. Some of these you probably know about, but I would be very surprised if you'd heard of them all. Let's get into them and wrap this iceberg up. GG is a channel that was actually suggested to me by a viewer like super early on in my channel. We're talking when I was doing self-promo on Reddit. As of August 2023, they sit at 105 peculiar videos and began posting in 2014. With seemingly no connection between each video, the only thing they share in common is that every single one is bizarre. A lot are on the comical side of surreality, others more strange and unsettling. I think it's someone taking clips from various pieces of media and constructing them into their own creative outlet. It's a good mix of entertaining and puzzling, so I definitely recommend diving into the contents of the channel yourself. Focus Group is another YouTube channel that went under the radar and has faded into obscurity. Having not uploaded since 2010 and only consisting of 14 uploads, I'm doubtful there will ever be another. The videos most worth mentioning are the Evil Dog and the Dreaming Man trilogy, its storyline being a scheming dog sends an unsuspecting man into a hallucinatory dream world from which he may never return. Din Din, where a man makes reverse dinner and shows us his mouth and nostrils, which are a colorful abyss. And my personal favorite, Peach Rings, where a man buys peach rings in a convenience store. The cashier tells him,
"Remember, you can have a great day if you make it a great day. Bye-bye."
But when he leaves, he's displeased with the fact he bought the peach rings and can't open them. He opens them with a hammer, but the bag explodes and he shoves them in his mouth. This should have been a 2000s internet classic, and the channel was definitely just a group of friends having fun, making humorously weird content, and I think the videos deserved way more attention than they got. I'm sure the large majority of you watching know what Cicada 3301 is, but 3301337.cf is much less talked about. It's an odd website that is thought to be a forgotten Cicada 3301 puzzle that explains ancient aliens and them visiting us in the year 2111. It consists of a plethora of diagrams and text referencing aliens and even links a playlist titled Aliens that features ICP and other songs about extraterrestrial life. Bible Girl 7, or Willow Tree, is one that is extremely specific to my childhood, and I don't think has ever been considered a part of the weird internet or is even strange. But I found a video of hers titled String Cheese Again and Ready Whip when I was probably 10, and for some reason it unsettled me and my friend and became an inside joke. I think it was probably the eating in complete silence with the exception of a few laughs that creeped us out. She hasn't posted since 2009, but the channel had 265 videos, and most are of her talking about various topics or documenting little aspects of her life. But every once in a while, a video will have string cheese and Ready Whip energy. I mean no ill will by talking about it, it's a completely harmless channel, I just wanted to include it since that video weirded me out when I was a kid. Butterflies.flv is a relatively unknown creepypasta about a CDR someone found in a thrift store. The contents of the disc were abstract, questionable butterfly art while the following appears on screen. You are meaningless. They will fix you. You require surgery. Your body is a prison. They will free you. Do not refuse. Look at what happened to those that denied their gift. Look. It ends with text saying the rest of the video has content that YouTube wouldn't allow, and that they already destroyed the disc, so to not inquire further. There is such a lack of documentation of the backstory online. All that I know is it was originally posted by an ARG-esque YouTube channel named The Broken Tape 1181. Elmo vs. Booba is a YouTube video from 2006 and is the only video on the channel. It starts with the blue Booba having a gun in its hand and says, "Give me your drugs, Elmo, or else I'll kill you." Then cuts to the infamous blue Windows Movie Maker screen while 3 seconds of The Only Difference Between Martyrdom by Panic at the Disco plays. We then see Elmo telling Booba that he'll never get his drugs. The police show up to Elmo's crib and he says, "Holy shit, it's the police. Bye-bye." Then the credits are set to Paramore's Here We Go Again. I can only imagine this was the work of some emo kid, and I find it very nostalgic as someone who had a long emo phase. As this commenter put it, 2006, absolute garbage, 2022, or in our case 2023, a hidden gem. All Seeing Advisor is a channel from 2012 that genuinely comes across as if it could have been made during the current age of analog horror, which makes it all the more surprising that the most views it ever garnered was 500. It looks to be an ARG that never took off and came to an unexpected end after only 6 videos. What I could gather is it surrounds a group of entities referred to in the videos as we, and they are targeting someone named Jason. This face is a recurring symbol throughout the short-lived series, and in one they even did the modern-day broadcast hijacking gimmick. The one I'd consider the most enticing happens to be the last they ever uploaded, woods.avi. It says the game has begun, and the first objective is to come to the woods as they left a present for you there. You can bring whoever you wish, but they can't help you. They're nice enough to give you the following hint: it stands the tallest, it stands alone. Down the path of noble you will go. If you don't collect the envelope within 24 hours, you'll be forced to do terrible things to those closest to you. It ends by saying, "The clock is running, Jason Galati. You've been advised." In another video's description, it even includes a link to a video from another channel that has since been deleted and was never archived on way back, so there's probably more to this internet oddity than we'll ever know. EternalLife.3G2 is an obscure internet urban legend that seemingly originates from Russia. According to it, viewing the password-protected file EternalLife.3G2 has a positive effect on the brain and body. It increases your luck, well-being, and even holds the power to get rid of all vices. The video is of a plain gray background that periodically flashes different colorful screens or computer-looking displays while electronic music plays. Following the tragic death of Tom Brubnitz, a short titled Ookie Cookie was created to honor him and the art he made throughout his life. It begins with Frida holding a gigantic frosted animal cracker, saying it's not just any cookie, it's Ookie Cookie. They make callbacks to Pickle Surprise and Strawberry Shortcut, but using cookies, and when the person reprising Lady Bunny's role asks, "Can I make this?" we get to see an alternate reality Pickle Surprise guy. He says, "Of course, it's easy," and walks us through the process of making an Ookie Cookie. After constructing a face onto the cookie, it transforms into a cookie-colored Pickle Surprise. He says, "Aren't you forgetting something?" And the Strawberry Shortcut people squirt whipped cream all over his face. We even get to see Ookie the Pickle doll, and it ends with Frida holding a magnifying glass up to her eye. When I first saw this, I had no idea it was made in 2009, so I think they really nailed the atmosphere and was a great tribute to Tom. While on the topic of colorful-faced people with tall hats, we have come to an end with a shameless blue chin guy plug, who is the most obscure weird piece of media of all. If you're new here, the Blue Chin Guy is the elusive video I've been trying to hunt down for 3 years now and was the reason I started this channel. My mother saw it as a child in the late 80s or very early 90s on presumably MTV. She recalls a music video, however admittedly there have been a couple people claiming they remember a commercial. But then I see people tell me they remember a music video too, and recently someone literally lied about finding it. It's been one long ass saga. But it can be summarized as a video that at the very least contains music and people playing instruments. What she specifically remembers is bongos and people dancing around. Eventually, the Blue Chin Guy shows himself. He's blue-skinned, in a tall hat, and possesses an abnormally long chin. He tilts his head to the side and smiles. She believes she saw it a total of 2 times, and Blue Chin was to never be seen again. There is a chance we'll never find this thing, but I obviously still haven't given up. And I'd like to believe there will be a day I can make my little Blue Chin Guys Found video essay. I genuinely believe my love and passion for wanting to find Blue Chin was the result of growing up on the weird side of the internet. Discovering David Firth as an 11-year-old and loving other surreal content, then developing an interest in internet mysteries and lost media. I mean, my mom was watching this as a little kid and had no idea her future child would start a whole YouTube channel due to the mystery of its existence. The butterfly effect is real, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Creating this colossal iceberg was really fun and honestly personal to me because most of it has helped shape a part of who I am today, and I'm sure a ton of you can relate to that. My channel has been a way to share this kind of stuff with a group of people who are into the same weird shit, so sincerely, thank you.